Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Ambrose Blowfield back here from the Sales Mastery Company, talking about a very, very important subject for business owners, sales managers, also for everyday people. This is about strengthening our mental resilience. Now, if you've interacted with us recently on social media or indeed via our newsletter, then please make sure that you've got handy the workbook that we've shared. It should look something like this. This is about strengthening your resilience. As I mentioned, we typically are here to help salespeople, sales managers, and business owners, but please feel free to share this video with as many people as you possibly can. If ever you need to get access to the workbooks we provide free of charge under this particular scheme, then please make sure you email admin@salesmasterycompany.com. And this topic is strengthening your resilience. If you want to include today's date being Friday the 13th of October, feel free to add that into your request itself. Now, I want to talk you through this particular workbook and how it applies to you as a business owner, sales manager, or salesperson, but I also want to widen this topic. Sadly, in New Zealand recently, we have just lost a true man of a great influence across New Zealand, again, from a mental health perspective. And that's been such a sadness to the many, many thousands of people that he was able to help. So the first thing I want to raise with you and also raise with others around you is the fact that when it comes to mental resilience, hardening up and toughening up is definitely not the way to go. So please, if ever you have any mental challenges, which is a true and real situation, despite the fact that as people, we may not want to admit it in different cultures, the reality here is I want to encourage you, reach out to others, reach out to me if you have to on LinkedIn. I want you to know you are absolutely be able to get through it, but you will need a support network. So if you're sitting there thinking, I wouldn't even know who to talk to if I go through some particular challenges from a resilience or mental perspective, then please reach out to others. There'll be lifelines that you can call. There'll definitely be colleagues you can talk, maybe some of your school friends from from growing up that you need to reach out to. So please make sure you've got others you can speak to. If you're married, you're likely got someone to speak to. If you've got a brother or sister, you're likely have someone to speak to. So please make sure you've got that support network and make sure you realize that they can support you and you can support them. At the same time, right now, I just want to acknowledge, if you know anybody out there that is going through a few challenges at the moment, just send them a quick text message. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till you catch up in 2 weeks' time. Send them a message now or at the end of this live session and just say, hey, just thinking about you. No times are tough. I'm here if you need me. That can do absolute wonders for a lot of people, and it's important that I address it right now. Now, again, let's go into today's topic. If you've got the workbook on the second page, you've got a little bit of understanding about us, but let's talk about some practical ways to develop and strengthen your resilience, in particular in a business or sales context. Now, obviously, the purpose of us having resilience is for us to diminish the low times as well as maximizing the high times. The reason why we need mental resilience in sales is we're going to have to face rejection at different times. We're going to have to face fights. We're going to have to face loss. It's an ever-changing marketplace, in an ever-cynical buying marketplace, in an ever-competitive marketplace that most of you are operating in. So you are going to need to lean into that mental resilience at different times because it's inevitable. As I was coaching people yesterday live at Nelson at the top of the South Island in New Zealand, at one of the most beautiful parts of the world, in my opinion, and we were talking to them about the fact of you're going to have to lose the odd job every once in a while. And if you win every job, you probably have got too low prices. You're going to have to lose some jobs some of the time. If you've got 100% conversion rate, probably you're missing out on profit margin because you're not selling on value. You've got too low prices and everyone's saying yes for you. So please keep that in mind. Also, one of the best ways for us as humans, but also as salespeople or sales managers, to be able to push through the short term is to be able to see the big picture, to be able to see the big goal. It might be a Mount Everest, or it might be a Mount Fuji, or it might be a Mount Kilimanjaro. It could be just a little bit of a hill. You don't have to have big goals. They don't have to be huge, life-changing, once-in-a-lifetime ambitions. But at the end of the day, one of the best things you can do to help with your resilience is to not get caught up in the micro, not get caught up in this loss, this fight, this conversation, this fearful client conversation, and actually to see the bigger picture and to go, actually, you know what, long term, I am on track. Long term, I am okay. At the same time, The stronger you are mentally, the more you can support your manager, your colleagues, your friends, your family, your community. So I also want to encourage you to develop your mental resilience, but learn what the tactics are, the strategies are that you employ, some of which I'll share with you today, some of which I'm hoping you're already using. I imagine you probably are aware of them. And by developing your skills and your strategies in this area, you will be able to coach and support and mentor others. So it's really important around that. At the end of the day, when we have more mental resilience, as it says in the third bullet point in the second section of that page, it improves our problem solving, which in this day and age, we often don't talk about the words problem solving. We refer to it as critical thinking or discerning. Under pressure, a manager, and particularly somebody operating in sales, has to be able to think quickly, think accurately, and think intelligently. And so the more distracted we are by the emotion and the roller coaster of life, and certainly emotion and roller coaster of a sales division, the less likely we are going to be to think critically. And of course, if we make wrong decisions because we're not thinking in the right way, that perpetuates the problem. It adds to the stress, it adds to the pressure, because it adds to the loss. So ultimately, I want you to be able to learn the techniques, learn the strategies to be able to think clearly by being more mentally resilient. So let's keep that in mind. Now, Genie Joseph talked about the fact that there's 3 types of resilience. I find most people talk about the second one of those. So the second one of those is adaptive resilience, meaning if you go through the fire, if you go through street smarts, if you go through hardened times, it builds your character, builds your mental resilience. Now, that definitely is one of the forms of resilience. But unfortunately, it is naive and unintelligent to just assume that is the only way to build character and that is the only way to build resilience. You don't have to go through pain to develop mental resilience. Some of resilience is very natural. Certainly, children have to cope with a degree of natural physiological resilience because they go to kindergarten or daycare, pick up a bunch of bugs, which triggers their immune system in a natural way. Some people have the ability to survive heat in their mouth or heat in their fingers. That's a natural resilience. You didn't create it, you're just better at it. Some people don't like hot coffee, some people don't mind hot coffee. That's a natural resilience. So the first thing to accept is that you are naturally resilient, even to survive childhood, whether that's because of your siblings or your tough schooling, but all simply you knew what to do. The reality is you have some natural resilience. This isn't something that some people are blessed with and some people are not. Some people are blessed with some differences in their resilience in different circumstances, but this isn't a you've got it, you don't. Everybody has it. You've got to discover your natural resilience. If you're fortunate enough to be a parent, you've got to encourage your children to realize they are mentally tougher than they realize, even to survive, as I said, kindergarten. Number 3, restored resilience. Restored resilience is just fancy words for learned resilience. Just like I'm teaching you right now, you can learn tactics, you can learn strategies to develop your resilience. At the same time, eyes wide open, people. You can observe others using tactics and strategies, whether you simply observe them and use them, or you observe them and ask them for help to coach you on how to develop that particular approach or that strategy. Again, either way, you have the opportunity to learn from others around you. So please keep learning, like I encourage you to keep sharing. There's 3 forms of resilience. There's that you were born with, there's that you've learned, and there's that you've developed in an adaptive way over time as well. Not just that as the only form of resilience. Now, when it comes to a 4-factor approach that I'll summarize at the end as well, Deborah Serrani talked about the fact of you've got to state the facts. So what I mean by this in a sales context is if you lose a sale, the fact is you just lost 1 sale, not the facts are I'm a useless salesperson. Yes, you lost this sale. Maybe you lost 15 sales this week. The facts are you only lost 15 sales. You didn't lose a million. You didn't lose an infinite number. The facts are the issue is this. So the first thing to realize is when you get knocked about as a manager or as a salesperson is to realize what are the facts and what are not the facts. What is an emotional response? And we're trying to protect ourselves from that. So it's really, really important to do that. Secondly, Do you know why you lost the sale? Now, I'm speaking about a sale because I'm normally speaking to sales managers and salespeople, but did you know why you lost the sale? You need to attribute the blame or the cause to what the actual situation was. Maybe your opposition decided to undercut you and they offered something at a very low, unprofitable level. That was the reason. If that was the reason, then that wasn't on you either. So either way, you cannot take the judgment. Now, if it was because you blasphemed or you swore at the customer, then yes, that's the reason. Is that within our control moving forward? I like to think so, because you shouldn't have to put your foot in your mouth every week. So again, learn the lesson and move on. Number 3, reframe it. Like I said before, once you accept the facts of the facts, you have the opportunity to reframe, meaning you get to see this situation, this loss, this struggle, this fight, this challenge in isolation and frame it as such and go, okay, so I lost the sale. This was what the cause was, and this is the lesson I'm getting. The moment you start to take a tough situation as a teaching situation, you're starting to reframe the event. Now, there's lots of ways of reframing, but one of the best ways a salesperson or sales manager can reframe it is to ask yourself, what is the lesson I gained from this experience? Now you're looking at this negative experience and turning it into a winning experience because there's a lesson. Remember, if we keep making the same mistakes, we're a bit negligent or lazy. But if we keep learning from mistakes, then we're learning and growing. And finally, sometimes you need to give yourself time to live with the loss, meaning sometimes you lose a customer and you go through a degree of grief like you would losing a loved one, or maybe just an associate, maybe not a close loved one, but there is naturally a grieving period of frustration and anger and everything else. And sometimes you need to give yourself time. You need to accept the fact that you might not bounce back in 30 seconds. It might take you a week or two. But please, as I said at the start of today, tell your colleagues or your manager that this is getting you down or disappointing you right now. Other practical ways we can develop our resilience, and I'm hoping some of these you're already using, and if not, embrace any one of these, share it with your colleagues. According to Xing in 2016, the more positive thoughts we have, the better. Now, that's a silly thing to say, except when you turn around to the last part and go, celebrate your wins. Most people assume, as I said before, that resilience comes from going through hardships. Actually, you can develop resilience by creating a winning culture in the team or winning culture in yourself, where when you win a new project, you reward yourself with a chocolate bar or an apple or a banana or some nuts or a walk around the block, whatever makes you happy. But learn to celebrate your wins. That's an important lesson. Number 2, Fredrickson in 98 talked about the fact that positive emotions increase our awareness of surroundings and buffer against negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is your subconscious that's there, that inner critic that's actually there to protect you from embarrassment or harm or potential loss. You've got to monitor what you're saying to yourself. And as I said before, talk to your manager or your colleagues or a friend to talk about how are you coaching yourself in your mind. There's a huge power behind that subconscious inner critic voice. You've got to be able to become self-aware of what are you saying to yourself just before you fall asleep at night, first thing in the morning, or when you drive away from a client visit. Number 3, Henry Emmons found that the power of calm is important. So we talk about mindfulness as a technique in this day and age. It's very popular from people with belief and non-beliefs alike about resting your mind. So whether you're juggling, whether you're playing a musical instrument, going for walks, going for swimming, actually spending time in calm, ideally daily, which simply means a walk around the block would be good, without your phone, without AirPods, without a podcast, just listen to the birds, listen to the dogs, listen to the traffic if that's what you have to do. But periods of calm builds resilience. What happens to our subconscious, and particularly our emotional subconscious, is we release some of the stresses and the strains that can build up with more periods of calm. So please use your evenings to relax. Use your mornings to relax and have calm. Use your weekends to relax and rest. It's important for us as humans to do that. And all of that develops both our mental, physiological, and ultimately our emotional well-being and resilience. Other ways we can do it is remember that stress and the feeling of stress to heighten our adrenaline is a natural system we have. So when we feel stressed, it usually means that our energy or our attention is being put onto something, meaning if I don't make a change, I'm going to have issues. So it's a warning system. So learn to recognize that and just double check that it's a legitimate system. It's in you, it's natural, and you need to talk about it. Number 2, One of the best things you can do to lower your blood pressure and improve your cognitive function, meaning your critical thinking, is actually doing deep breathing or doing circular breathing or likewise square breathing. There's all the different things around that. Square breathing is a good thing for you to research. Number three, making sure that you've got some positive sounds around you, not just traffic noises and stressful noises is good around you. I mean, I know a lot of people got excited 20 years ago listening to dolphin and whale sounds. Again, that's not for me, but for some people it makes them happy. Certainly birds and nature makes us calm. The sound of the sea makes us calm. Reducing foods that spike our adrenaline, spike our energy. So energy drinks and sugar are typically bad for us. Excessive caffeine is bad for us. And then finally, learning to realize what is in your control in your life. I've spoken to somebody one-on-one, coaching them today. They're getting very frustrated from the news, very frustrated from what they're seeing right now. My suggestion to them is my suggestion to myself. Reduce your access to it. Don't cut yourself off and live as a hermit or a Luddite away from all technology and news. But at the same time, if it's bogging you down, if it's bringing you down, reduce your exposure to it. That's important. So in summary, we have three forms of resilience. You've got a natural resilience, you've got an adaptive resilience that you learn through the School of Hard Knocks, and you've got learned resilience. That's that third form that I'm trying to teach you today. I want you to realize that as a manager, as a salesperson, you're going to have knockbacks, you're going to have stresses. That is natural, that is inevitable unless you're totally cheap and undercutting yourself. At the end of the day here, you're going to have knockbacks. So try to adapt the way you deal with it. Try to use one of these new techniques. Talk about it with your colleague. Engage it with others around you and be a leader amongst others. Yes, there's a 4-factor approach we talked about. Now, this is a topic we typically teach to sales managers in our sales manager programs. We teach to salespeople in a sales mastery program, and we teach to teams in our sales academy. If ever you want to talk about your mental well-being, if you ever want to talk about your mindset, if ever you want to help develop your growth within your business, flick us an email to admin@salesmasterycompany.com or reach out to us. Let's have a chat. Tell us where you are. Tell us what you're going to. Let us help you and your team grow, whether that's free of charge or pushing you onto one of our programs if that's a more appropriate solution for you, or simply pointing you in the right direction to somebody else. Please take action from today. Please share this with others and let us work together to develop and strengthen our mental resilience. Bye for now, and be sure to take action.